What's up, you guys? It's Josh here on Tuesday, August 11th, bringing you a second stimulus check and stimulus package update. I hope you guys enjoy the update. If you do, please let me know by hitting that subscribe or like button down below. Really helps me grow the channel and beat the YouTube algorithm, and I would definitely appreciate it. Alright, so right now there's so many different crazy things happening in the world, but definitely with the stimulus package. And so in order for us to have a clear picture, I think that we need to understand where we're at. So we know that right now stimulus talks of all types are kind of stalled. We know there was a self-imposed deadline last week for Friday that Democrats and Republicans were trying to reach a deal. They did not. And now, last Saturday, President Donald Trump issued 4 executive orders. Those executive orders were some sort of eviction moratorium, payroll tax cut, unemployment checks, and a student loan deferment. Now, these were all very challenging to interpret, and it's not really what it says it is. If you actually read them, a lot of them are like recommendations, with the exception of the actual student loan payment deferral and 0% interest. That one is the most sound out of all of them. So here we find ourselves, a lot of Americans right now are really struggling just because they lost that added on $600 per week, and they're like, what am I going to do? Well, we know yesterday that the stock market kind of wasn't doing so great, and then last minute it actually surged 350 points because they are very hopeful that there's going to be some sort of stimulus passed very soon. We heard from Secretary Steven Mnuchin yesterday, and he said that they were willing to go up with the cost of the package as long as Democrats were willing to be reasonable and negotiate. Now, we have heard from basically everybody at this point on their personal opinion of what needs to be done. We know that Donald Trump, in one of his press conferences, was actually asked if he had spoken to somebody, and he said that they were calling them. Well, the Democrats said that he hasn't. So at this point, it's like a really messy blame game of who's at fault and what's going on. We know right now that we need a new stimulus package, and we know the secretary said that they were willing to meet in the middle. Democrats also are willing to meet in the middle. So right now, what I think is actually holding this up is talks about the United States Postal Service. Democrats want some more money for the United States Postal Service. Republicans are not so much of a fan of that. We know that the Postal Service does not operate at a profit. It's basically, it is a public service, but it's like a third-party public service. So, you know, you can't really run it like a business because it has to service legally every address in the United States. And how are you going to make a profit on somebody who lives at the end of a dirt road and they're the only person who lives on that road that you're delivering mail to? So I don't know. That's one part of the stimulus talks. I think that they really are together now on the unemployment pay. I think it's just going to be $600 across the board. We've heard from so many governors, they can't really implement anything. They don't have the money to implement anything dealing with the executive order. I think it's just going to be easier if they just go ahead, give people the $600. We've heard from Democrats, and one way that they were going to bring the cost of the package down is to actually maybe have the $600 added on unemployment go until November, and then instead of like January 31st, which is kind of what they were wanting. Now, we also have heard from Speaker Nancy Pelosi, and she has stated several times that this is not going to be the last bill. We've heard from Secretary Steven Mnuchin that it's not going to be the last bill. So there's a lot of other time moving forward that they can kind of negotiate and maybe step that down with the levels of unemployment. We had the unemployment levels last week. Those things were way better than we thought they were. But also, it's important to note that there is a 90% rise of COVID cases in young adults. So kids who are going to school, children. So that's kind of scary. That means that people are not going to be able to go back to work. That means mothers and fathers are not going to be able to go to work while they send their kids to school. So here we are in the middle of this mess. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm very excited to see what could happen within the next couple of days. Secretary Mnuchin said that there could be a deal by the end of the week. We're kind of in a wait and see pattern right now. Both sides now realize that something needs to be done, and you know, nobody has kind of given in to this point. So it's going to be really interesting to see what their next package is. I do have some hope that we might get a little bit better than a $1,200 stimulus check, just from all the random articles that I've been reading on the internet. I know, you know, consumer spending is at an all-time low. I've read so many articles about how the city of New York is struggling right now, and we kind of know that COVID hit New York before it hit everyone else. So I truly kind of see what's happening in New York right now with all these bankruptcies and things like that really spreading across the entire United States. Please keep in mind that this is the worst economy we've had since the Great Depression. So we need very stern action very quickly in order to kind of turn this thing around. What was once thought of as a V-shaped recovery is now just kind of gone. It's going to be, you know, lasting economic damage for a while, just because there hasn't been a clear and effective policy to continue these stimulus talks, and that's what we really need in order to grow and get the economy back to where it was. There's no vaccine right now. The economy is not going to go back to where it was before, just because we can't go out and we can't live our regular lives. All right, you guys, that was my stimulus check and stimulus package update for today. I will bring you guys more tomorrow. We are kind of waiting right now. We're in a holding pattern, waiting on the next package and kind of the wording and see what it is. The house is gone. They're on a 24-hour notice, so that way when a deal is reached, they can come back. Really right now, this is just a leadership that's in the negotiation pattern. So I don't really know how many of those like freshman senators and freshman reps are having a lot of input right now, because there's not really a lot of input to be had. So it'll be really interesting to see what all of them have to say about this next package.